Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second annual Scriptwriting or Screenwriting Competition Awards event here as part of the Footcandle Film Festival. We're very happy to have you joining us today, and we're very excited to be putting on this event once again in conjunction with the Lenore University Visitors Writer Series and also with our own Footcandle Film Festival, part of the Footcandle Film Society. My name is Alan Jackson. I'm co-director of the Footcandle Film Society and the festival, and very excited to have you here. It's going to be a fun night. We've got some great guests to introduce you to and a couple of awards to announce. So we don't want to spend too much time before we get right to it, so let's go ahead and get started. But first, before we do, I'll give you just a quick plug for our film festival, because I know that is something that those of you watching, being very interested in learning about screenwriting or hearing about our winners, may have some interest in the film festival if you're not aware of it already. Our 6th annual Footcandle Film Festival is going on right now as we speak. It is happening live online due to current national and international situations, obviously. We opted to hold the whole festival online this year. It is the first year doing an online festival, and although we desperately miss having everybody in person watching films with us together, it is nice to know that everybody has the flexibility of watching the films from their own home and watching them on their own schedule as well. If you're not familiar with the rest of the festival, if this is your first experience with us this weekend, the films are all available until Sunday night of this week, and you can visit us at footcandlefilmfestival.com to learn more about the festival. It is something where we bring in submissions from all around the world. I believe we had over 320 submissions this year to cull down to a list of 31 films that we actually were able to program for this year's festival. So it is something that we're really proud of the event, and we hope that you continue to make it part of your weekend beyond just tonight's event. But tonight's event is really special. It is the second year we've been doing this contest with the screenwriting competition, and we could not be doing it, obviously, without the partnership of Lenore University and the Visiting Writers Series. So I would actually like to turn it over to Dr. Rand Brandis, who is the director and founder of the Visiting Writers Series at Lenore University.
Thank you, Alan. I just want to say how excited I am to be here tonight and how much I appreciate all of the work that you and Chris and your team have put into making this event possible. We didn't want to give up on it. We had a great year last year. That was the first year that we had the screenwriting competition and the table reads, and we felt that that was really important to the Writer Series in terms of our commitment to providing diverse literary arts programming to our community. And here we're providing it to folks perhaps all over the world. Just a few quick notes about the Visiting Writers Series. We are celebrating our 32nd year of literary arts programming. We've hosted over 300 nationally and internationally known writers, Nobel Prize winners, Pulitzer's, National Book Awards, and so on and so forth. And as a part of that, we really feel that bringing these artists into our community improves the overall quality of life of our local citizens, and definitely our students benefit greatly from this. I also want to just say that the Footcandle Film Society and the work that Alan and Chris have done have made a huge difference in our community. They have a great following, a very loyal following. They're true professionals and truly passionate about everything they do. So we are excited to be working with them, and I just want to congratulate our winners. I know that you've worked very hard on that, and this is the kind of recognition that I think every writer should get, but you're getting it tonight, so we're really happy about that. Just wanted to say that we added the screenwriting competition to our programming because, as I said, we wanted to include all of the literary art forms, and screenwriting, we think, has not received the attention it deserves. So one last thing, our next Writer Series event, you can go to our LRU VWS and see our entire series, but our next event is on October 8th with Jacqueline Woodson. And so thanks again for your partnership, the hard work you put into this. Congratulations to the winners, and I also want to thank the actors who are doing the table reads and the LR students who participated as well. So thank you, Alan. Thank you, Chris.
All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Brandis. And again, we appreciate your partnership on this event. It's very exciting to be doing this again, and we look forward to meeting our upcoming scriptwriters here now. As Dr. Brandis mentioned, with this competition, the way this worked is that we put out a call several months back. We actually put out a call through our website and through various film submission competition websites that we use, same locations where we actually get our film submissions, and we added an element last year for scripts to be submitted. So those scripts were submitted. We had a review committee that would actually review all the scripts that came in, multiple readers, all giving some assessments of those scripts. And Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot here. How many scripts did we have total come in this year?
We had 70.
70 scripts came in for review that fit the criteria that we were looking for. So we had our entire committee review those scripts, and from that, we actually took the ones that had the highest overall scores as given by our review committee. So those are the two winners that we will be announcing and hearing from those writers here momentarily. So with that, Chris, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Fry, who is the co-director and co-founder of the Footcandle Film Festival and has also been a good liaison with the screenwriting competition. So Chris, let's talk about our winners.
Okay. As Dr. Brandis did mention, we have two this evening. So the first one I'll be announcing is the runner-up winner. It is John Martins III for The Fourth Psalm. John Martins III is a 1982 graduate of Washington State University, a 2006 graduate of the University of Arizona, and has been an associate member of the Dramatists Guild of America since 1984, after the performance of his one-man play, The 95 Theses, at the Sangre de Cristo Art Center in Pueblo, Colorado. In 2002, his radio play of two priests clashing over the 1980s sanctuary movement, The Fourth Psalm, won first place at the University of New Mexico's Radio Theater National Play Contest in Albuquerque. The play was performed and then broadcast over KUNM radio in February 2003. Later, it was adapted as a screenplay and was submitted to our screenwriters competition. Other works by John Martins III include a full-length play, Dietrich, based on the life of German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Acton T4, the story of two German theologians who fought in Hitler's forced euthanasia program. Whoa, got tongue-tied there. And Arizona Sunrise, the story of a teenage boy overcoming the death of his best friend in a school shooting. Martins, originally from Rhode Island, has been a resident of Sierra Vista, Arizona for the past 20 years. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mr. John Martins III. Welcome, John.
We're going to have you unmute your mic there, John, if I could get you to do that. Yep.
Sorry.
There we go.
Okay.
Wonderful. Hey, John.
Sorry about that. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, Alan, for all your hard work. Thanks to Dr. Brandis, and my gratitude to all the actors for helping us out this evening, and congrats to Justin and Jeremiah for their first place win. Way to go, guys. This is a real treat. So I suppose maybe, if you don't mind, I can maybe just give you an idea of how I came to write the Fourth Psalm, and I'll try to get that as quickly as I can, get through that as quickly as I can. There's a timeline, so I'm kind of aging myself here. But back in 1982, 38 years ago, I met a Peace Corps volunteer at Washington State University during a meeting for Amnesty International. And during that time, he shared how he witnessed a crime against humanity where you had many Salvadoran farmers peacefully protesting for land reform. Backdrop in El Salvador is at the time, I think 14 families pretty much owned El Salvador. And I don't think that's changed all that much over the decades since I originally heard that story. I think it's now like 8 conglomerates that are controlling El Salvador now, and many of the same family members run those conglomerates. So we just don't hear much about El Salvador in the newspapers and on the news anymore. But back in the early 80s, it was on the nightly news. And what this Peace Corps volunteer shared with me was that dozens of people, dozens of these farmers were murdered. And the guess was it might have been a hybrid government forces, right-wing death squads that killed them. And what he remembered was that there was so much blood on the streets that a fire truck was called in, and with fire hoses, they had to wash all the blood off the streets. And when they did that, he saw all the blood washed down into like a drain. And so that, when he shared that, that just created a strong visual memory for me. Okay, so that was 1982. In 1986, or I pretty much put that story, I just kind of filed it away and worked on other things. But in 1986, I came across a newspaper article in the Oregonian, and I lived in the Portland metropolitan area at the time. And oh, lo and behold, I happen to have the same article in front here. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, we can, actually, great.
Convicted in sanctuary case. And one of the people is a Presbyterian minister by the name of John Fife. And he and others, and it was a kind of a ecumenical movement. So you had Roman Catholics, you had Presbyterians, Methodists, Unitarians get together, and they basically created an underground railroad where they were smuggling Salvadoran refugees into America. So the government heard about it. He was convicted, and luckily his sentence was suspended. But when I came across that article, I just was able to immediately put that with the event that the Peace Corps volunteers shared with me. So I wrote the fourth Psalm originally as a theatrical play. And it took me about 6 months, sent it off to about 50 theaters in 1987, and not one responded favorably. So, you know, when that happens, you have a choice. You can continue to pursue it or go on to other work. So I decided to go on to other work. And I put it in my file cabinet, the play, and it was there for about 15 years. So in 2002, I come across an article in the Dramatist magazine stating that there was a radio play contest being put on by the University of New Mexico. Never wrote a radio play in my life. Bought a couple of books about it. How do you write a radio play? And lo and behold, I won the drama category. So doing that, I thought, well, hey, maybe the iron is hot. I sent more letters out to actors, agents, producers, and nothing happened. So I put the radio play away for 11 years until 2015, when I just had the time to adapt it as a screenplay. And doing that, I've been fortunate. I've won a few contests. I've been a finalist in others. And lo and behold, I was fortunate enough to be runner-up here at the Footcandle Film Festival. So I'm very grateful for that. So I guess the moral of the story is, you know, never give up on a story you've written, never throw it away. Just put it away, and perhaps someday events will take place, and you'll start to see some good things come out of it, some fruition. So that's the story of the fourth Psalm that took, 38 years ago. This took place. It began.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We really do appreciate that information and that background for it, because again, I think that helps people when they understand the script writing process. I think you talked about some of the time involved and just the different iterations that it went through too. I think that's something that was interesting. It's starting out as a play and evolving into a screenplay was really great. And to that effect, what we're going to do next is we actually have some selected scenes from the script that you just heard about. We're going to actually have some screen actors or stage actors actually in the next room. We're going to flip the camera over to them here in just a second so you can see them and hear them. And they're actually going to read, I believe it's 3 selected scenes. Is that right, John? And I'm going to need you to kind of give me a little setup too for the script in general as well. I think it's 4 scenes actually. I'm sorry, 4 scenes that they'll be reading selections from. And John, can you give us just a little setup on the script in general in these scenes?
Well, right. It's pretty much a story of 2 priests who kind of they debate whether what they should do when they learn that 3 Salvadoran refugees have entered their parish. And again, during the time, we talked about how important a story is. The background is there literally were lives hanging in the balance. So returning someone to El Salvador at that time might have been their death sentence.
Okay. All right. Well, this is going to be a table read. Now, for those of you maybe who haven't seen a table read before, we have actors who are taking on different parts, and they're reading through the script. We understand that with the table read, you may not be able to comprehend the full scope of the surroundings of these scenes. We're hoping that these scenes can at least just give you a sense of the tone and style of the writing, which is really what we wanted to convey with the table read. So we actually have 7 actors in the next room. We're going to pull them up on the screen in just a moment. We actually have Holden B. Huffman. We have Mark Rose, Mark Woodard, Brian Keston, Stephen Bailey, Andrew Castillo, and Hannah Highsmith, all with us in the next room, and they are actors from the community here. We're very fortunate to have them with us and taking part in this table read, so I'm going to flip right over to them and let them get started with the table read for this script. Okay, that's good. You can go right ahead.
Fade in. Exterior establishing shot, Oregon mountains, sunrise. Gloriously rugged mountains cover the landscape with awe-inspiring beauty and tranquility, framing legend, Las Cruces, New Mexico, 1986. A wind blows, accentuating the barrenness of this vast, remote region, part of the Chihuahuan Desert. In the distance, Sugarloaf Peak. A lone hiker, strong and burly, scales the side of a steep but climbable side of a mountain with no aid except hiking boots. Doggedly determined, he scales the mountain all the way to the summit. Before him, a spectacular view of the Oregon Needles. Upon closer inspection, the hiker, a Hispanic, about 55, bald and muscular for his age, continues to climb. The sun peaks right above the horizon, bathing the land and sky with golden light. A look of accomplishment on his face, the man takes in the wonder of God's beautiful creation. From his backpack, the man pulls out a thick book with a brown leather cover embroidered with a Celtic cross. In the lower corner of the cover is his stamped name in white. Insert, Father William Cano. Takes in the view. Opens the Bible and reads a passage. Insert, Bible, Psalm 4. Total peace, other than a stiff breeze blowing. Amid the quiet, a faraway look on Cano's face. Montage, television news reports. The sound of a teletype machine pounds away. News footage of President Jose Napoleon Duarte of El Salvador speaking before a crowd.
Newly elected El Salvadoran President Jose Napoleon Duarte promises to stem human rights abuses in his country.
Documentary news footage. Slain villagers lie along a dirt road.
Approximately 4,000 Salvadoran civilians have been killed by leftist guerrillas and right-wing death squads.
Documentary news footage. A United Nations General Assembly.
The United Nations announced that El Salvador's infant mortality rate is 27.16 per 1,000 live births, compared to the United States' 6.67.
Documentary news footage. The late Salvadoran Catholic Archbishop Oscar Romero. More footage of Salvadoran deaths.
Amnesty International reported today that since the assassination of Salvadorian Archbishop Oscar Romero 2 years ago, 35,000 Salvadorans have been killed. Another 2,000 people are missing and are presumed dead.
Documentary news footage. The United Nations General Assembly. Leaders of the world meet.
The United Nations today reported that 15% of El Salvador's 5 million population have been driven into exile since the beginning of their civil war. The 750,000 refugees are reported to be living in the nearby Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico, with some illegally immigrating to the United States.
The teletype machine stops. Exterior, Oregon mountains, sunrise. Back to Cano, who takes in the scenery.
In Spanish, El Salvador means the Savior.
Exterior, street, on moving car, morning. Cano drives behind the wheel of a dilapidated, puke yellow 1979 Ford Pinto, its engine puttering along. The Pinto makes its way to exterior church parking lot, morning. A worn sign announces the church's name, Holy Trinity Catholic Church. The car parks in a designated spot with an old and equally worn signpost that faintly reads, reserved for priest. Cano gets out of his car. He looks at it sadly. He surveys the front lawn of the church, which has noticeable dirt patches surrounded by dry, burnt grass. He takes in the worn church. It is obvious the parish and its grounds have seen far better days. Interior, Holy Trinity Church, Cano's church office, day. Cano flips on his office wall switch, greeted with flickering fluorescent light. On, off, on, off.
God answers prayer. He just takes his time at Holy Trinity.
Mrs. Rose waltzes out, then remembers.
Oh, Sheriff Lucas is in the garden. Wants to discuss something with you.
The expression on Cano's face. I wonder what it is. Exterior Holy Trinity Church, Peace Garden, morning. Dressed in a sheriff's uniform, DJ Lucas, a man of about 48, stands Gary Cooper tall, with chiseled Germanic features, punctuated with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a full mustache. Lucas gazes at a garden that features more dried weeds than blooming flowers, a dying garden. He studies the station of the cross, which are dotted along the garden in order. Cano steps into the garden, heads right toward Lucas with pep in his step.
There he is, the three-term sheriff of Dona Ana County.
The men shake hands, warmly.
You mean I won't make it to 4, Padre? You're voting for me in November, right?
Depends on how many times I see you at Mass.
It's hard and all being a Sunday morning Baptist.
Guess it's difficult to change in midstream.
We're all on the same side when you get right down to it. I still wear that St. Michael medal you gave me 12 years ago.
Lucas shows off the silver medal around his neck, shimmering in the sunlight. Cano acknowledges it.
Not even tarnished. So why have you graced me with your presence?
The Border Patrol informed me they've infiltrated a smuggling ring. There's some activity in Santa Teresa, cutting through Las Cruces, and dropping off in Albuquerque.
Heroin?
Central Americans. Now, I have no problem with immigrants. Just do it legally. If not, it makes me look like I'm not doing my job. I can't have that, especially in an election year.
Holy Trinity is not a sanctuary church.
A priest and a nun in Nogales are knee-deep in it. Some other churches, Methodist, Presbyterian, Unitarian, maybe there's someone else. Border Patrol thinks it's an I-25 underground railroad. If you see or hear anything...
Sure, I'll do my best.
Thanks. That's all I expect. Ask for.
Miss Rose waves frantically in the distance, getting Cano's attention.
Father Butler is here.
Cano gestures goodbye to Lucas. He makes a beeline to the church. Interior, Holy Trinity Church, Father Cano's office, morning. Cano works at his desk, tries cleaning up all the mess. He gives up. It's too overwhelming. Mrs. Rose walks in with a vigorous-looking man, about 35 years old, who, by his wiry, strong appearance, looks as if he could win a marathon.
Father William Cano, I'd like you to meet your new assistant at Holy Trinity, Father Michael Butler.
Butler offers a hand.
Father Cano, please call me Mike or Michael.
Father Mike was telling me he was transferred from Our Lady of Guadalupe in Juarez.
I was there 5 years.
You're from Texas?
Scottsbluff, Nebraska.
And a hiker like you.
When did you hear about your transfer?
A week ago, Bishop Overton moved a mountain to get me here, or so he said, because of our priest shortage. It was his last act before going to the hospital.
Well, let me show you around.
Exterior, church grounds, Peace Garden. Cano and Butler survey the church grounds. Butler notices the same bed of dried out flowers in the so-called garden.
Yancey's got to water these grounds more often. It's getting embarrassing.
Yancey?
Our only custodian.
Sounds he's a little overworked.
We're understaffed and under-budgeted. Holy Trinity is the diocese's ugly stepchild.
Who's Cinderella?
St. Thomas on the other side of the city. I'll take you by there later on.
Are we county or city?
County. Sheriff D.J. Lucas was just here, talking about illegal aliens.
Undocumented workers.
Right. Same thing.
Before getting to the rectory, Cano and Butler walk right past a shiny brand new red 86 Toyota Camry in the accompanying parking lot. Cano can't help but notice.
Yours?
A gift from my folks.
Cano takes a moment, admiring its contoured lines.
Very nice. Slightly better than mine.
Cano gestures to his tired Pinto.
It gets you to where you're going.
The two men continue taking in the grounds. Not much to see. Cano almost embarrassed.
Would you be slightly offended if I did my own little sightseeing on my own?
Not at all. You need to know the area. There's a lot to see, a lot of it beautiful. Let me show you your room.
The two men walk off. Exterior, downtown Las Cruces, on Toyota Camry, sunset. Butler's red Toyota drives down a street. Interior, moving Toyota. Butler drives behind the wheel. He takes in his new city. From series of shots. Lush green parks to families together. Wealthy neighborhoods. Fenced-off playgrounds with basketball games played on black asphalt. Low-income neighborhoods with all the blight associated with it. He notices a prominent billboard sign along the roadside. It displays, "Re-elect Sheriff D.J. Lucas, experience and integrity." Butler studies Lucas's face on the billboard. The street. The fire hoses wash and carry away copious amounts of blood on the street. Okay, I think we've jumped scenes there.
Yes, page 9 to page 27 is where we jump, so you might want to jump all the way down to the after-in flashback.
Yes, okay, there we go. He did not see that. That's not part of the city, okay. Interior, Holy Trinity Church, Butler's office, day. Cano looks burdened, a long pause.
I saw a load of illegal aliens.
Undocumented workers.
Undocumented workers from El Salvador rounded up by the Border Patrol.
That's unfortunate, because now they could be facing a certain death back in El Salvador. What do you want to do, Father Cano?
We keep Azalina and Hector, but get the kid out of that cowboy's shirt.
Thank you.
Keep them hidden. Mike?
Cano,
Go ahead.
Cano about to walk out before addressing Butler.
Mike,
Butler acknowledged Cano.
are you a Cowboys fan?
Butler gets the gist of Cano's comment.
I'm a big Cowboys fan.
Don't put me to the test again.
Cano slams the door shut. Interior, Holy Trinity Church, Cano's office, day. Cano sits at his desk, working over papers. Over the intercom,
Father Cano, Bishop,
the door opens suddenly. Unsteady footsteps. Bishop Overton steps in. Cano rushes over and grabs his arm, supporting him. The priest guides the bishop to a chair and helps ease him into it.
I've been diagnosed with a little pancreatic cancer. Surprised, huh?
I've known you for 25 years. I don't know what to say to you.
The Japanese have a term, wa. Silence is a form of respect during a time of sorrow.
Long silence from Cano.
Thank you, Bill. There's something I have for you. It'll be one of my final acts as Bishop of the Diocese of Las Cruces.
The bishop pulls out an envelope sealed with wax. He presents it to Cano. Overton motions for Cano to open the envelope. Cano breaks the seal. He pulls out a letter. Insert letter. With the Diocese of Las Cruces emblem. Cano scans the letter twice, can't believing his ears as he reads.
On this date, October 20th, in the year of our Lord 1986, the Diocese of Las Cruces hereby forwards the name of the Reverend William Cano to Pope John Paul II for the honorary position of Monsignor.
It hasn't been finalized, but it's in the works. What are you thinking of, Monsignor?
I still don't know what to say.
Overton appreciates Cano's humility.
I've already spoken to Bishop Navarro about this. He's fully aware in the event of my death. In January, you'll be replacing Father Jones at St. Thomas. And you thought I was just sending you some help. Father Butler will be solely assigned to Holy Trinity and will be working out of this very office. It's time.
Most Reverend.
Overton motions. It's nothing.
I'd ask you if you were up to the challenge, but the only difference I know of is the different clothes you'll be wearing. You'll do just fine.
Thank you.
Now, as your first act as Monsignor Designate, help me up.
Cano assists Overton out of his chair. They walk to the door together.
Keep your proverbial nose clean for the next few months so Bishop Navarro and I can stand by our recommendation wholeheartedly. Agreed?
Agreed.
You're going to look good in black and purple.
Cano, overwhelmed by his good fortune, he grasps Overton's hand and kisses his episcopal ring. Then a look on Cano's face, decisions to make. Skipping ahead. Exterior, Las Cruces, summer, establishing day. Months have gone by, the hot sun bearing down on the New Mexico City. Exterior, St. Thomas Church, confessional day. Cano is in his confessional, which is much more ornate and crafted than his previous confessional. The door opens and closes for the confessor. A shadowed man walks in on his side of the confessional.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
No response.
Is someone there?
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Mike? Are you all right?
Sheriff Lucas told me in so many words. It didn't take much to figure it all out. You never wanted to be a part of it, did you?
No.
You told Lucas my address, gave him the key, saw everything as it played out that night.
Yes.
I was forced to resign by Bishop Navarro.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. Nothing has changed. Other churches are taking a stand for innocent life.
When do you appear in court?
In 6 months. If found guilty, I could serve 10 years in prison.
You were a good priest, Mike.
So were you, once.
Confessional door opens and closes. Cano is left with Butler's words. Dissolve 2. Interior, St. Thomas Church. Cano's office, day. Cano in his office. Soft door knock. It opens. Sheriff DJ Lucas.
Hello, Padre. I mean, Monsignor. How do you say Monsignor in English?
Monsignor. Congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you. I'd like to talk to you about Father Butler.
I don't know where he is.
I believe you. Look, I'll just come out and say this. 5 bodies were found earlier today near Cox Peak.
What happened?
It looks accidental. Maybe dehydration or hypothermia was involved. Hard to say until autopsies are performed. There was no identification on the bodies. It looks like 4 Hispanic males and a Caucasian male about 30 to 40 years of age.
Okay.
I wouldn't be bothering you about this, but the Caucasian was wearing a Dallas Cowboys t-shirt. Do you want to come to the coroner's office?
It dawns on Cano. He remembers Hector's t-shirt, his previous conversation with Butler.
Are you asking me or directing me?
Guess I'm asking before I'm directing.
Cano gets it. Interior, county morgue, day. Cold and sterile. Cano looks around, standing near a refrigerated locker.
I can never get used to this place. The dead aren't even at home here.
Let's get this over with.
A technician extends a cadaver gurney from the wall, a sheet over a body, a tag on the toe. Lucas speaks into a mini cassette recorder.
For the record, Monsignor Cano, can you identify this male Caucasian subject, approximately 30 years of age?
Lucas holds the recorder towards Cano's mouth. The sheet is removed to show the face. Immediately,
Yes. It's Father Michael Butler.
Lucas turns off the tape recorder.
Thank you, Monsignor.
Cano slumbers out. Interior, St. Thomas Church, Cano's office, day. Cano scans the room, and although it is as opulent as it was before, the look on Cano's face says the magic has worn off. It's gone. He sits in his chair, motionless, devastated. Exterior, St. Thomas Church, Peace Garden, day. Amidst all the natural beauty that surrounds him, ugliness masks Cano's face. Dissolve 2. Exterior, Oregon Mountain, sunset. Cano sits on Sugarloaf Peak, where he was at the beginning of the story, as well as with Butler later on, alone. The sun slowly sets behind the horizon. Flashback, Holy Trinity Church, conference room, day. The earlier November Parish Hall fundraiser dinner meeting between Cano, Miss Rose, and Yancey.
We can't allow Father Butler to bring any more undocumented workers here. We're not an underground railroad.
All right, so that was our table read. And John, I'm going to get you back on here in just a second. If you want to go ahead and unmute your camera, your microphone, we'll get you back on there. But first off, I wanted to just give a virtual round of applause for our readers. I understand that you will not be able to, readers, you'll not be able to hear the applause from the audience, but trust me, it is out there. We have our readers from left to right on the screen right now. Holden B. Huffman, Mark Rose, Mark Woodard, and then Brian Castine, and then Stephen Bailey, Andrew Castero, and Hannah Highsmith. If everybody wave, thank you so much for being a part of this tonight. We really do appreciate it. You guys did a great job, and so thank you very much. And John is nodding in improvement here as well up on the screen. So, John, if it's okay, we're going to go ahead and come on back over to you. And we do have a few questions from the audience before we move on. So if it's okay, we can ask you just a couple of quick questions here from the audience. Okay, wonderful, great.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have some questions that we can pose for John here?
First off, it's just actually a question from me. I was wondering, what were some of the considerations you had to take from adapting it from radio to film? Obviously, stage directions and such, but were there other considerations that you had to do in that adaptation process?
I mean, I really had to fill in the blanks. The radio play was only approximately, had to be under an hour. So I had to at least add another 30 minutes to the screenplay. So, that creative process starts all over again. And, it was, again, it's a story I've been familiar with for so long. It wasn't too difficult to add additional scenes. My concern was over pacing. And I think more than anything else, poor pacing in a film really hurts it. And my concern was there was too much dialogue in the screen. I know we've heard nothing but dialogue, and thank you again to the actors. But sometimes I fight a philosophical battle over how much dialogue is enough dialogue. I think sometimes theatrics tend to kind of get in cinema's way a little bit. So for me, my concern was not overly verbalizing the story. I like to keep my screenplays visual as much as possible.
Sure. I was going to ask too, is something Alan and I discussed the screenplay a couple of months ago, and he was saying how it was interesting how, now granted, in the table read, it's hard to get the whole, scope of everything, but with the people involved, you don't lay the complete blame at someone's feet. You see how conditions are, and people are trying to juggle jobs or responsibility to the church, but yet they see things happening, and they're trying to do their best, but yet they're conflicted, and how did you strike that balance, basically, in trying to provide kind of a, not just throw all the blame one way and make one person the evil person? How did you work on striking that balance?
Right. Yeah, thank you for noticing that, Chris. Writing villains with the handlebar mustache and all that's, pretty stereotypical. I think most of us, we're gray, aren't we? I mean, there are things in my life I'm ashamed over. And I think poor films tend to overly dramatize bad guys into, they don't love their children. Look at the Godfather series. Where we see these killers, these cold-blooded killers, hugging and kissing their children and all of that. So I certainly think, as far as all my characters, and I've written other characters, other villains, so to speak, in other scripts I've written, where I certainly have tried to up their humanity, that even in the worst of us, they said Hitler loved dogs. So I suppose with everyone, there's good and bad. Hopefully there's more good than bad, but I just feel that, yeah.
I have a question from someone. They were asking, is there anywhere that they can listen to, like an archived version of that radio play? Is there anywhere online or something that they could find an archived version of that radio play? Do you know?
If it is, it would be associated with the University of New Mexico and KUNM Radio in Albuquerque. I haven't heard the play performed in many, many years, so I'm not even sure if it's even still around. I hate to say it, I didn't think that question would be asked. I should have maybe looked into it, but thank you for whoever asked it. That's flattering, but I don't know. I just don't know where it's at right now.
Sure. What films, that I think of something like, The Mission or something like that tackles subject matter of people being missionaries and struggling with things. Are there films that, not that you spoke of your influences on writing this screenplay, but are there like films that you kind of used in your mind as reference points, or just, certain, maybe the way certain scenes were constructed, or just were there certain films that maybe informed kind of how you thought this would play out when you were writing it?
Yeah, right. The only film, and I haven't seen it, but the only film that I've heard of that approaches this topic is a film many years ago called El Norte. And I've never seen it, but I know I believe it's about Central American refugees trying to making it to El Norte, America. And that's been generally it. There's a few years ago where Jack Nicholson portrayed a Border Patrol agent in a film. Again, I think it had something to do with undocumented workers. And so there hasn't been that much about it. All I know, general rules that I have about writing stories, screenplays, is to make them as visual as possible. And I think that pretty much carries the day. I know William Goldman talked about, how dialogue is probably the least important part of a script. Not that it shouldn't be good, it should have context to it and all of that, or subtext, excuse me. But It's just a subject that Hollywood hasn't tackled very much. And hopefully, it will in the future. Hopefully there'll be more stories about it, especially in the political climate that we're in now, about a wall being built along our southern border and all of that. So maybe down the road, someone might find interest in the story.
Well, thank you so much, John, for sharing not only your background, sharing some of your expertise, and talking to us a little bit about the winning script tonight. So thank you so much. We were really proud to have you as part of the competition this year and to be able to recognize your script. And I hope the actors did your reading proud as well. So great, good.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Really
wonderful.
appreciate it.
We're going to go ahead and move on then to our other winner, our winner of the competition this year. And Chris, I'm going to let you introduce them here.
All right, so the winner for our competition this year was Justin O'Neill Miller and Jeremiah Castleman for The Last Blockbuster. I'll give you a quick summary. The Last Blockbuster unfolds on the eve of the 2009 Blockbuster video collapse. A struggling store manager must fight to save her family from falling apart, her store from shutting down, and the human race from a mysterious extraterrestrial threat. Justin O'Neill Miller and Jeremiah Castleman are filmmakers and co-writers of the features films The Last Blockbuster and Recreational Vehicles. They both grew up in Central Florida, but didn't find each other until they made a weird underwater music video in a dive training pool. We're going to have to hear more about that. Justin's background in architecture led to a career in art direction for such films as Baby Driver, Prisoners, The Outsider, and Direction. He lives in Los Angeles, California. Jeremiah is an Atlanta-based production designer of commercials, short films, and music videos. Together, Jeremiah and Justin have worked together on films like Hunger Games, Baby Driver, First Man, and Tenet, commercials and music videos, and have created award-winning short films such as The Roach and Restitution and Peggy, which some of our members may remember we showed that last year at our film festival in 2019. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Justin O'Neill Miller and Jeremiah Castleman. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Chris. Hey, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for putting this thing together. It's wonderful.
Well, we're really happy to have you guys here, and thank you for joining us, and congratulations as well. We'd love to hear a little bit more, very similar to what we did before with the previous script, is just to hear a little bit from you about kind of what brought this the script together, and maybe if there's the story leading up to it, and especially as a working duo partnership there, we'd love to hear a little bit about that working relationship as well. So we turn it over to you to kind of hear a little bit about your script and your thoughts and philosophies on screenwriting.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, and thanks again for this honor, and it's such a treat to, I think, at all have your script read, let alone recognized, and yeah, we're in such good company. I feel like we have a tough act to follow here, and our story is going to feel maybe kind of appropriately trivial, kind of in comparison in a lot of ways, but hopefully we have found some ways to elevate it, and I think there's some fun things to talk about. Do you want to talk about like where that we haven't talked about this in a while, but my earliest memory of this project is us sitting around in the having lunch in the break room on Baby Driver, and it kind of I think in part maybe because it was born on this idea was born on an Edgar Wright set. We really kind of tried in a lot of ways to end up taking an Edgar Wright approach to the structure and the kind of tempo of the film overall. Yeah, we just were sitting around shooting around a couple ideas, and Blockbuster came up, and it's since kind of gotten into the news quite a bit. We found out, I'm sure as everybody as there's kind of an actual Last Blockbuster up in Oregon. And we didn't know that at the time, but we were like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we had a short film that was about some people at a Blockbuster video store, and the story moves through multiple genres, just like a Blockbuster video store is structured. And yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about how it's structured?
Yeah, it's interesting because we had so many conversations about this, and the ideas just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and like trying to figure out like how to reel in as much of that as we could and compress it into a story that could be told and feel at least like it's starting realistic and tangible. Like it was kind of my job to create characters that would believably walk forward in these sort of different directions that would kind of create this world naturally. I think that in the past I've tried to write stories and then like put some cool characters, and have them do the story. But I think that a little bit better way to go about that is try to figure out what people are going to walk out and accomplish the story that you want to see happen, and that has made a lot of difference in how this whole thing felt. Who these guys are and what they're all about, I think has been a lot of what determined what the structure ended up being. But yeah, like we sort of split it into sort of two halves, where the first part of the movie feels like dramatic and comedic and sort of like maybe we've even seen this movie before, where we're watching this thing, this store just kind of gets away from people and it's shutting down, and oh man, we've got to save it. And then they're working on saving it. But man, that's really early in the story. And it's like, okay, if they've kind of started saving it, what's left to do? And so we just start to, as the same way you would walk through the store and get to just weirder and weirder titles, like we just start kind of breaking off into some interesting tangents that I think end up being a lot of fun to watch our characters, otherwise established as kind of heroes, get sort of thrown off track by some sort of sci-fi and hive mind and almost zombie style activity sort of thing. So anyway, I don't know if that helps.
Sure. Well, you're speaking to a child of the Blockbuster video. So I mean, as soon as I even saw the title, I said, okay, this will be one of the first entries I read myself as well, because I was just fascinated. So no, I love the premise was great and very unique and interesting, but I think it speaks to a lot of people of definitely of our generation, but even deeper than that too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I guess that was one challenge that's worth bringing up kind of is that, we also too used to, like with our families, like go to the, get video games and movies from Blockbuster, and we have that real experience. But like my kids are like, they don't even know what DVDs are. And it's like, wait, there's this place that you would go and like physically get a movie and bring it home and then take it back. Like that's kind of so foreign. So it worked kind of well for us that we would end up kind of structuring the film as a comedy throughout, but really starting, hard with character and drama up front and ending with adventure and plot at the end. So it's like the movie starts with all of these, like with all internal motivation, and there's no external pressure pretty much on these characters. And the first 15 minutes might be like, well, what are these guys even struggling with besides themselves kind of? And, it tries to honor, I think, especially that, 2008, 2009, like recession era kind of, struggling middle America thing. And the characters slowly replace all of their internal problems kind of with these external conflicts until the end. They, it literally goes from Siggy trying to save her family to Siggy trying to save the store and kind of fight corporate Blockbuster, to her trying to save the world, and by the end, I think you're supposed to be so caught up in it that you're not noticing that it's that outlandish of a journey, but that's the kind of basic premise.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for that background to it. Now, we do have a couple of scenes to read or to have read by some actors. I do know this was something that was pre-recorded earlier. It is some students from the Lenore-Rhine Theater Department, Lenore University here in Hickory. Unfortunately, guys, I know that you may be a little in the dark on exactly which scenes they're reading because it was pre-recorded and you haven't seen them pre-recorded yet. But maybe can you just give us a little bit of a log line just to kind of about the film in general And again, we're going to play the scene so that way people can at least hear kind of the style and vibe of the film in general, even if they may not have all the context around it, which we realize is a little challenging with a table read for selected scenes, but we're hoping it gives everybody the right feel and vibe for the script.
Yeah. And I also just wanted to say thank you so much for doing this, guys. That is a really difficult thing to do, and I'm really excited that you guys are able to do it, and we can't wait to hear it, and it's really exciting. So thank you for putting in all the effort to get that done for us and for everybody that wanted to hear more about this.
That's great.
I think the beginning, the start of it is more of an exposure to how Blockbuster felt and what it was like to just like experience it at baseline, so that you get an understanding for the era, the time, and the feel of it all, in case it's foreign to you. And then I think as we move through the script, we see that stuff kind of explode a little bit. So that's my go ahead, though.
That's great. Oh, good.
Yeah, that's basically all that I would say. And just that I think the second scene is kind of a midpoint roughly in the movie when the team is needing to start come together to make sure that they're like kind of kept together as a unit, and so things kind of start going conspiratorial a little bit in this portion of the movie, and everybody's kind of getting on the same page so that they can kind of get the whole store pointed toward this unified goal.
All right. Well, thank you. So with that, we're going to go ahead and play the two scenes that the Lenoir University Theater Group, some students from the theater department there, are going to play for us. And you'll see their names up on the screen of the different actors that'll be playing the different parts. And then you'll be hearing that. And in the meantime, if you have some questions that you'd like to be asking these filmmakers, when we return from the script reading, the table reads, we will go right into some questions for these two. And so please go ahead and put them in the text box if you're watching this live, and we will certainly try to help get your question asked as soon as we come back from the table read. So enjoy this. We'll be back in just a few minutes then. Let's go. Yeah, so it's... Let me turn this off.
Summer Reich, narrator. Brennan Onaka, multiple characters.
Justin Wilson, Kenny.
Haley Pierce, Kristen.
Ashlyn Cheers, D.
Interior, Blockbuster Video, evening. Music, Twain Cinema by the New Pornographers. A customer hands Apocalypse Now to Nate, who nods approvingly, searching the store for Kenny, who makes an and one gesture from drama. Blip. A customer grabs lethal weapon off the shelf and hands it to Ethan, who bobs her head to the beat. A man grabs indecent proposal and hands it over the counter to Dee, making a you and me gesture. Dee shakes her head, no way. Blip. The guy makes a call me gesture as he leaves. Dee looks down and sees a number written on his receipt. Then a customer grabs blankly off the shelf and hands it to wide-eyed Kenny, which literally brings the music track to a screeching halt. Bernard, late 40s, an awkward elderly version of Napoleon Dynamite, played by Jimmy Stewart, stands by patiently.
Can I rent this, please?
Kenny stares at him in disbelief. His face says, nope.
Who told you to get this?
That self-serve kiosk.
You want to watch a movie where the whole point is Al Pacino leaving the mob. Who wants to watch that?
Well, I don't know. Wait, did you run it?
No, the scene where they drop off a mentally challenged kid at Baywatch shoot ruined it.
Oh, okay, fine. I'll put it back. What am I allowed to rent then?
Kenny faces him, sympathetic now.
Sorry, it's not your fault. Look, close your eyes. Tell me the first thing that you think of.
King's Point.
Kenny cocks his head, now noticing Bernard's diving watch and a half-hidden nautical tattoo.
Wait here.
Kenny moves from behind the counter, slipping into an aisle, his hands stretched out at his sides, as if he were feeling for some hidden energy, like he's the wand vendor from Harry Potter, searching for the perfect match between customer and product. Bernard follows.
Okay.
He grabs a movie and hands it to Bernard. The man reads the back for a second and starts to tear it up. He looks at Kenny, stunned.
How did you?
Wait until you watch the movie.
Kenny places a hand on Andrew's shoulder as they walk back together toward the front, giving a slight static shock.
Ow!
Sorry,
It's okay. Hey, thanks for this.
it's what we do.
Kenny grins. He scans the movie. Beep, scans the card. Beep, then boop, looks at the screen.
Looks like you owe a $12.94 restocking fee on beaches. I'm just going to go ahead and waive that.
From a few aisles over, Dee and Christian watch.
Just me, or is our clientele getting, older?
Interior, Blockbuster video, front of house, the same night. Kristen and Dee, still on the floor, watching Siggy blow through the store without saying anything, looking worse for weird.
You gonna manage someday? I don't know. Can't see that far. Or don't wanna, maybe. You? Hell no. I'll be long gone by then.
She stops, catching herself. Dee waves it off.
It's okay.
But it's not okay. She knows she shouldn't still be here. Summer Reich, narrator.
Avery Williams-Mill, Ethan. Justin Wilson, Kenny.
Samantha Miller, Siggy, Jamie Owen, Nate.
Haley Pierce, Kristen. Ashlyn Cheers, Dee.
Brennan Onaka, multiple characters.
Exterior strip ball, night. The crew plays kickball in the empty parking lot. Roughly BB kids versus theater kids, with Ethan on first base. Dee glares at James, who is making eyes with Cindy.
Hey, kid.
Hey, old man.
Dee kicks a grounder that bounces all over the place. Cindy has a hard time getting control of it and does a girl throw.
You in the mood to step out on a limb? Do something not boring?
You know me too well. What's up?
Dee overhears James talking to Cindy.
I swear to God, you look just like Grace Kelly in this light.
Dee looks up at the source of this light, some half-burned-out street lamps. Her eyes roll back in her head.
Well, that didn't take long to get over.
Siggy needs our help.
Kristen steps up to the plate.
Anything for Siggy, right?
She turns to the pitch and kicks it out of the park. Exterior strip ball, day. A small grouping of people are gathered behind a station just off the side of the Blockbuster entrance. Interior Blockbuster video, break room, day. Kenny and Kristen sit in the break room, already in uniform. Kenny checks his watch.
You ready for this?
Kristen nods, a little unsure of herself. Kenny dials the number from the landline.
Hey, Siggy. Yeah. You busy? Someone from corporate's here. 15. Better hurry.
He checks his watch again, looks at Kristen. She pulls a chair from the dining table and places it along a seemingly random stretch of wall. Kenny rolls his sleeves up. He steps onto the chair, pushing a ceiling tile up and to the side. He pops his head up into the space and looks around. Interior Blockbuster video, front of the house. Kenny and Kristen walk onto the floor like they own the place. Dee and Ethan head back of the house for break.
Don't go anywhere.
Kenny and Kristen lock the front doors, just in time, too. There are a handful of people walking toward the store. Kenny takes a flyer of some sort to be inside of the window, points at it for the potential customers to see. Interior of Siggy's minivan, moving. Siggy nervously taps her steering wheel as she pulls into Blockbuster parking lot, confused by the people outside. They're busy? Exterior Blockbuster video. She gets out and approaches the crowd like they might be having mental issues.
Excuse me, I have to get in there. Hey, lady, line starts back there.
Siggy looks at the line. It's kind of long.
It's my damn store. We gotta cut her. Oh, wow, it's Siggy, everyone. Oh, cool, Siggy from the flyer?
She pushes past as she grabs the flyer from someone's hand. It reads, Blockbuster Doorbusters, Saturday only, 3 movies for $8, high noon to midnight.
What the hell is this?
Interior Blockbuster video, front of house. Siggy unlocks the door, surrounded by people clambering to get in. Kristen notices, just in time, and heads over and has to literally push people back out the door.
Just a few more minutes, Kay. Thanks.
Siggy gives her a funny look and finds Kenny standing down an aisle opposite her. High noon indeed.
Kenny, what the hell's going on?
But he doesn't answer. He just stands there, gathering courage.
My office, right now.
She starts to move, but still no answer. She's boiling.
What the hell is going on with my store?
Your store?
He says that with such intent. It's some sort of trap. Dee and Ethan emerge from the back of the house, wondering what all the raised voices are about.
How long were you going to keep it from us?
Huh?
You going to make me tell them? Tell them that the store is closed?
What do you mean the store is closed?
He pulls out the letter that we saw Siggy looking at, the one she was really stressed out about.
As far as corporate is concerned, they closed the store weeks ago.
How'd I get that?
How'd you think?
Kenny, how dare you?
How dare I what? Break your trust? Sneak around behind your back? Keep secrets from you?
He's got her attention now and switches over into Ethan Hunt figuring it out mode.
Letters dated end of June, but you probably got a heads-up call months ago. April?
Look on Siggy's face says maybe.
So you started propping things up.
Flash. Siggy looking her office door. Playing a YouTube video of a conference call from her computer. Volume up.
The faked calls of corporate.
Flash. Kenny at another phone with no blinky lights next to the lines. He picks up the phone and gets dial tone.
The block numbers to prevent corporate from reaching us.
Flash. Siggy hitting star 67 on the phone.
Doctor checks to be drawn from a personal account.
Flash. Siggy cutting pieces out of one check and pasting them onto another, then scanning them.
But you were running out of dough faster than a donut shop in Manhattan. So you canceled your cell phone and the Celeb magazine subscriptions. You took out a loan.
Flash. Siggy at a bank. Flash. Kenny sitting in a car outside the bank.
And got an advance from Jeff.
Flash. Siggy meeting Jeff in a parking lot. He hands her a small envelope, stacked thick. Flash. Kenny sitting in a car watching them.
But it wasn't enough.
Kenny's eyes connect with Siggy's.
Because one woman can't hold back the tides of time, can she? Not alone. There's no way that you could have kept corporate's nose out of this, all on your own. You had help, didn't you? Who was it?
Siggy looks skittish, like she's really in trouble. Or about to get someone else in trouble. She can't say it.
Who's helping you?
It would be...
Everyone does a double take as Nate emerges from shadows that no one knew was there.
It was?
Nate?
Kenny looks at Siggy in disbelief. Two conspirators?
It started small, with the late fees, but then I noticed a glitch in the software Siggy had tried to bring in our outbound data to corporate. I cleaned it up, started helping her cover other tracks.
So how long have you been bankrolling us?
It started with Nate about 6 months ago.
This is news to Nate.
6 months? Siggy! They told me I had to cut someone and I just wanted it to last a little longer.
I can't believe you didn't trust me with this.
Oh, Kenny, of course I trust you.
Siggy starts to lose it. Kenny grabs her balled up hands, looks her in the eyes. A moment. Another moment. Okay, too long a moment. He lets her hands go.
Siggy, we're here for you.
No, you guys, this is the thing. It's too big. You don't know what you're getting yourselves into.
Of course we don't, but we're doing it anyway.
Everything seems really gloomy for a moment.
Why all the long faces? We know what we gotta do. Blockbuster's the only thing left in this whole stupid town, and we aren't gonna let them have it.
Dee raises interested brow. Kenny smirks a bit. Kristen jumps up on the counter and goes full Braveheart speech.
What will we do without movies? Watch reality TV, play board games, and do crossword puzzles? Read? Hey, maybe for a time, but one day, many years from now, we'll look around and realize that all there really is to do around here is cook meth and point guns at each other.
Kristen, I'm completely broke. It's already over.
Kenny's countenance changes, dropping the double-cross spy act and going into hero mood.
Like hell it is.
Siggy looks at him. Huh?
Corporate vacated this building last week. No one knew. But it was on the open market. And as of today, I am its new tenant.
He's got really good credit. Yeah, but you can't rent the movies. We don't own them.
Yes, I do.
Siggy seems dumbstruck.
Last week, corporate had a fire sale that we never held.
Flash. Kenny shimmies up into the acoustic ceiling tiles and drops down into Siggy's office.
Well, I bought them. All of them. Mortgaged my life insurance. But I can't do this alone.
He looks around, holds out his hand.
What do you say? Partners?
Kenny.
Come on. What you got to lose? Partners?
This time it's not a question. She reaches out her hand.
So we're gonna do it?
Do what?
Save Blockbuster?
You bet your ass we are.
Okay, so thank you to the Lenore University Theater Department for providing us with that. You're getting some applause on the other end from our filmmakers, and let me see if I can get them back on. I think let's get you guys unmuted there, and so you can hop back in and join us in the conversation here. So, great.
Woo! Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so what we'd love to do is we'd love to get some questions from our audience. But before we do, guys, I actually have one question, if it's okay if I could ask before we go to the audience ones. I always think it's fascinating when I hear about a writing partnership, so two people writing together. And just maybe tell me kind of how that partnership started. I know you guys met while you were working on the set of a film together. And describe the process of writing as a team, because I know, we just met a writer earlier who seemed to be a very solo writer. Obviously, this is a little bit more of a collaborative process. So I'd love to hear a little bit about the partnership between the two of you.
Well, I think the beginning of it all, like we said, we were working on that film together, and we were just working way too many hours. We were exhausted, and we just created the story. And then to bring that to fruition, I was working a job and got used to making almost no money anyway. And then I decided to quit that.
Be a writer.
Yeah, I was like, I'm almost a writer anyway. We might as well write. So while Justin and Ricky were working really hard, I was writing really hard for no money, not much money at all. And because I don't know. I would say, like, to people that are trying to be writers, like, don't try to live in a cool area. Live in the middle of nowhere where it's super cheap so you can write for, like, no money. So you can go to work twice a week and get your writing done and just eat ramen or whatever. But, all that to say, we jumped on an opportunity where we didn't need a lot at all to get a decent amount done. We laid out the foundation by meeting every week at the beginning, and then like maybe every other week, and just like got a growing picture of what this thing was supposed to be. We wrote a treatment together. Every time one of us added something to the story, we'd meet up and talk about it, and then we wrote what we thought would be a good skeleton, and then we filled it up with dialogue and heart and all the characters that we thought belonged in it. And then, we would meet. And then once I was done with what was like just a brittle foundation kind of thing, we'd hand it off to each other and add depth. And Justin punched it up a whole lot and made it a lot more exciting and beautiful. And I think that a lot of back and forth. And we've been really good friends for 12 years now?
Yeah. Let me back up to the
very beginning.
So, because I think that everybody wants to hear a little bit about the underwater music video, which I think I have a pretty fun story to tell from that. So, I was, I think, in between working on The Walking Dead and Teen Wolf, and had like a week or whatever, and one of my best friends from elementary school was directing a hardcore kind of Christian metal band called Under Oath, a music video of theirs that's like it's basically it's all water gags, and all the cameras flipped in different ways, and we built all these sets and sunk them in a dive tank pool and all this stuff. And
It's called In Division if you want to see it.
In Division.
Yeah,
Okay.
In Division by Under Oath, it's a pretty cool music video. If you don't like really loud, like streaming music, you can turn the volume down. They're a huge band and really good, but it might not be everyone's taste. But my buddy Jimmy Myers directed it, and so he had me come down to help with the sets and stuff like that, and figuring out the logistics of all that. So in that, there's like the little storyline in that music video is that there's like a family who is drowned in this house, and so that's why we're like kind of trapped in this weird water world, and it's like all these sets are filling up with water, and so there's a family that we keep seeing the back of their heads, and the guy whose back of the head we see is Jeremiah, believe it or not. And so I'm running around like crazy, like nearly drowning, trying to swim to the bottom of like a 14-foot pool and like pull up concrete chunks or whatever, normal things that filmmakers do all the time. And basically in between Jeremiah's shots that he's needed, he's like, what can I do to help? Like, this is crazy. You guys look like you need help. And we were like, yeah, swim down to the bottom of the pool and fill up the concrete.
That's like everybody on that show almost died at least once.
Wow.
So at the end of that music video, and we had all nearly died multiple times, we're sitting around going, okay, well, yeah, I don't know, Howard, like, you were great, man, it's so helpful, and what a cool, like, coincidence that you would have been there, because how would we have done it without you? And I'm like, here's a card, and I give him my business card. And then also we're like, what are we going to do with these, soggy drums? So Jeremiah's like, I'll take those. So he puts the drums in his trunk. He puts my business card in his trunk. And I think months later, he's like, man, I wonder like what's going on with those drums. So he takes the drums out and gets my soggy business card out. And
wow.
The rest is history.
Wow.
That is awesome. Thanks for that story. That's great. Yes, we had a lot of people curious, and now you have solved a lot of mysteries for a lot of people there. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Good. Chris, what about some questions from the audience? What have we got?
So we have somebody that likes to know, how do you as a screenwriter determine when, how a scene's going to fade, cut, dissolve, for example? Just like, how do you know when it's long enough? How do you, as a writer, kind of get that sense? Granted, it can be changed in the editing room, but how do you try to get that there on the page? How do you judge it?
Yeah, let me alley-oop to Jeremiah some, because I do think this script in particular, it's like we tried to reference every single movie that's ever been made, I think, in it. And so we also tried to have, every type of scene in there in a lot of different ways. So there's scenes that are just, a tiny bit of description. There's tons of like flashing around and there's a lot of montages. And then there's also, 6 and 8 page scenes of dialogue where we try to like really lay into some stuff. So yeah, do you want to talk about that some?
Yeah, I think at least on the initial passes and stuff, initially I write until I feel like my character's running out of stuff to say, and then cut the scene back from there. I think that for each conversation that ends up, you're seeing maybe a minute and a half of like my friends talking for 35 or 40 minutes or whatever, and so like I'm thinking about these conversations and I'm playing them out in my head, and it's like, which one of what of this does anybody care about, for starters, and two, what actually pertains to moving our story forward? You'll hear a lot of people say that, like, don't write stuff that doesn't move the story forward. That doesn't mean that moving your character forward isn't part of that story. So it's not like you don't miss a chance to build and flesh out your characters as part of moving your story forward. But I think I'm just like, I'll write a bunch of stuff that I feel like happened in those moments that we're exploring at that time, and then like read through it and just think about what needs to stay, what can be lost, and what am I not going to miss if it goes away. And it's really hard to select stuff, and it's hard to eliminate stuff, but you've got to trust yourself to come up with more cool stuff. Like, a lot of people want to leave everything in because you're excited that you came up with something that's really cool and it's wonderful, but if it doesn't belong, don't trust yourself. You're going to come up with more cool stuff. Let that stuff go. If it doesn't feel like it belongs, let it go. And I think that sort of determined the cadence for at least the initial go around.
That's great.
Does that help?
Absolutely. Somebody also asked, what was the largest late fee you encountered in your research? If you had like Blockbuster late fee.
Oh man, we did have a little joke in that, at least in one draft. I think it's still in there. I don't know. That's funny because the no late fees thing is a big it's a big part of the early chunk of the story, and it starts basically right when Blockbuster Corporate is like retracting the late fees stuff, and I remember in real life there was just so much confusion over it, and it's just and they did that in part because there'd be people that would just rack up huge amounts of late fees and then just never go back or whatever, and that was the penalty to pay. But I don't know if we did specific research.
I didn't do enough research into specific numbers. I just remember experiencing all I know is that my $36.11 that I owed for one movie for not very long felt like $5,000 to me when I turned it in. So I'm sorry.
Highway robbery.
I wish I knew more about what really happened to some of these people. I bet there's people with way over $100, $200, on some of these things. I would not be at all surprised, but I didn't do my due diligence for enough.
That's great. Chris, what you got?
Okay, so last question here. They said, what's next for this screenplay, and are you collaborating currently on other works? That was kind of their two-parter there.
We are definitely always working on more, but we'll get to that in a second. For this, I think we've got it in a few people's hands. We've got an Edgar Wright's team has a copy of it. We've got a few other people that are interested in it that we're going to sit down and talk with, some studios in Atlanta as well as in LA. But it's hard to know. It's lots and lots of things like this seem like they're going to go somewhere and then they don't. So we don't want to tell you that, it'll be around you soon. You'll be able to see it soon. It's just nobody knows.
It's in
the Lord knows. The Lord knows what's going to happen, and everybody else is just out of luck. You're just hopeful. But we hope it comes out. Everybody write your congressman. Tell them well, hopefully that helps. But,
it is a tricky film that we really want to make. Yeah, I think Chris mentioned that we had a short film at Footcandle last year, which we're also very grateful for. Thank you for having us come back,
Sure.
and we can't do this in person hopefully sometime soon. But yeah, so that short film was pretty successful, and I think it did kind of garner us some opportunities for this. But this is this would be a really tricky first film from the viewpoint of a studio or a financier, because it is just it's big enough and there's action. And, there's nothing that I'm really scared of, but it's it costs enough, I think, that it needs it needs the named talent attached, and and then it's going to happen at the right time. But, but it's, it's all getting slow cooked right now.
Yeah, sure. And was there another project you guys worked on?
Do you want to talk about Armin?
Yeah, sure.
One of the next things that we're going to finish up that we kind of started a little while ago and shelved because we needed to go make money instead. We have a story called Recreational Vehicles that's about a dad who retires a little bit early, hasn't spent enough time with his family, so he wants to reconnect with them. He ends up renting a camping slip, and the slip that ends up being available is amongst a lot of veterans who just lost one of their good friends. And so there's a lot of conflict involved with this kind of yuppie guy showing up with his earpiece, and kids who don't like him and are pretty disrespectful in certain aspects. And he struggles to connect with them and learn how to engage with his family while they're all sort of learning about this other world of a generation that's just kind of hiding from plain sight. And so they're learning a lot about history, and the dad is basically starts as a weakling and like overcomes as a hero towards the end of the script.
Yeah, I think it's kind of Grumpy Old Men meets The Great Outdoors. Is a little bit of the vibe.
Sure. I tell you what, between the Blockbuster video references and now you're throwing Grumpy Old Men and The Great Outdoors on me, man, you are talking my language right now. So that's
let's do it.
That's a good deal.
See you next year.
Yeah. Chris?
So there is one final, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but since this is being shown, I mean, a lot of Lenore Ryan students will watch this, and they always ask visiting writers there, if I am an aspiring screenwriter. You mentioned, some advice, move to the middle of nowhere, so you have time to focus on it. But any other advice that you would give to students that are interested in maybe even just writing, but specifically screenwriting, just some helpful hints or something?
Yeah. John had such a great piece of advice that was really great for me to hear even. And I think one good piece of advice is to find other people who are writers who can encourage you, and also people who can shake things up for you. Because I know inevitably in every, especially large scale thing that I write, I get so like forehead deep in it that I can't see the forest for the trees. And it takes people that I trust that are going to actually respond to it in a meaningful way and tell me what's working and what's not and how it could be better. It takes that to get me kind of objective enough to be able to re-engage it in a real meaningful way. And that's one thing that I think co-authorship really affords, is that it's like on a micro level, but also we had, we passed back and forth to each other some like 25-page documents that were like responses to each other's drafts.
Wow.
And how to approach the next, just so that we would have a blueprint for it. So that's like maybe on some macro scale stuff. And for me, on a micro scale, like maybe one of the most helpful things for me is that like when I don't know what to do, I'll literally just start typing into the application like, I don't know what to do here because I'm trying to do this thing and make that, and then by the time I'm done with that paragraph, I'm starting to write. So it's like, I think just by like articulating the thing that is stumping you, that's like a way that I sometimes can get myself unlocked and actually writing.
Okay, that's awesome. That's so great. Listen, I want to say thank you to both of you and congratulations. So great to have you. Thank you for joining us. I know remotely, again, like I said at the beginning, I wish we could be doing this in person with all of you. And we hope that if there's a chance in the future you're ever out this way, you please let us know so we can all try to connect there. But thank you and congratulations to both of you for your script and the winning script tonight. And again, imagine virtual applause from the crowd here as well. So, right.
No.
That's Justin O'Neill Miller and Jeremiah Castleman with their script, The Last Blockbuster. And Mr. Dr. Brandis, I believe you had some things you wanted to say here.
Yeah, so again, congratulations, Justin, Jeremiah, and John. Really appreciate it. And the Visiting Writer Series shares a lot of audience members back and forth, but I'm just trying to imagine what the experience was like for people who normally just come to the Writer Series. You guys all three of you did a great job of sort of pulling back the curtain for us and elevating the art form. And you were also articulate and passionate. And I think you're great role models for our young aspiring writers. And not to put that on your shoulders, you could be who you are. But anyway, I'm around a lot of young people these days, and they're really, really looking for ways to express themselves. And I think what you just shared with us is maybe another avenue for them to, bring their creativity forward. So thank you for all you've done. And again, congratulations, and thanks to Alan and Chris. And I have to do one little thing and thank LR for sponsoring this competition, and the United Arts Council, Catawba County, for helping us do that. So there you go. That's the plug. Thank you. Thanks again, guys.
All right. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate everything and appreciate you being here. Congratulations to both of you, to all three of you up on the screen right now. And we wish you the best and look forward to hearing some great things from your scripts in the future. So, right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. And please don't forget, we have the rest of the Footcandle Film Festival going on right now. We have 31 incredible films to show. And if you're so interested, join us at footcandlefilmfestival.com. You can go for $5 a film. You can go and click to watch any of the films on demand between now and Sunday evening. So we do encourage you to please do that. And we look forward to having this festival and the competition going forward as well. So thank you all very much. We hope you have a great rest of the night. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
God, that was great. You guys were